Eli sat cross-legged in the cramped communications room of the orbiting station, his hands carefully twisting wires and adjusting the small humming transmitter. The station was old, built decades ago as a remote relay post, and it creaked under its own weight whenever someone walked through the narrow corridors. But for Eli, it was home. He liked the quiet, the way the stars looked like tiny sparks through the viewport, and the gentle hum of machinery that always reminded him he was alive and needed. It was a normal evening, or at least it had been. Eli had been sipping lukewarm coffee from a chipped mug, listening to static-filled signals bounce through the ether, when suddenly, a strange tone cut through the background noise. The hum of the transmitter shifted. It was a signal unlike any he had encountered. Curious, he leaned closer. His fingers danced over the controls, adjusting frequencies and filters. Slowly, a voice emerged from the static, wavering but clear enough to make his eyes widen. "My husband. Help him." Eli froze. He blinked, thinking it might be some glitch, a misread frequency, or even some prank signal from another station. But the urgency in the voice was unmistakable. This wasn't a human voice, it was something different. He leaned forward, tapping on the microphone, his voice calm but cautious. "Hello, this is Station Echo 7. Can you repeat your message?" The response was immediate and almost frantic. "Please, my husband, trapped. Danger. Help him." Eli's heart started to beat faster. He had heard many distress signals in his career, mostly automated ones from cargo ships or routine planetary distress calls. But this was different. It was raw emotion, fear, and it was coming from an alien language he didn't recognize. He grabbed his translation pads, scanning for any reference to the alien speech patterns. Nothing matched. He frowned, biting his lip. He was supposed to fix transmitters, not interpret alien cries for help. Still, the urgency in the message made him push past his doubt. Eli worked for hours, adjusting frequencies, comparing tones, and feeding the signals into the station's AI translator. The machine whirred and beeped, struggling, but gradually, fragments of meaning emerged. Queen, husband, trapped, danger. He leaned back, rubbing his eyes. An alien queen? Trapped husband? This was not part of any training manual. He had expected boring routine maintenance and maybe the occasional minor repair. Not this. The comms room door slid open suddenly, and the station's AI assistant, a holographic figure named Kara, appeared with her usual calm expression. "Eli, you've been working for hours. Do you need a break?" "No time for breaks," Eli said, not taking his eyes off the translator. "Kara, this signal, it's coming from some kind of alien civilization. I think someone important is in trouble." Kara tilted her head, her light blue holographic eyes narrowing. "Important? By what standard?" Their voice, it's full of urgency. "And it's a queen. She's asking for help with her husband. I've never seen anything like this." Kara paused, then proceed with caution. "We do not know the intentions of this civilization. They could be friendly, or they could view us as intruders." Eli nodded, though he felt a strange thrill in his chest. Fear? Maybe. But more than that, curiosity. Humans had always been explorers, problem solvers, peacemakers, and here, suddenly, was an opportunity. An unexpected call to do something meaningful. He began sending signals back. His voice was careful, deliberate. "This is Station Echo 7. I hear your message. Please, state your location and the nature of the emergency." For a few tense minutes there was only static. Then, finally, the Queen's voice returned, softer this time, almost relieved. "Coordinates. Safe, but hurry. My husband. Trapped." Eli typed the coordinates into the station's navigation system. They pointed to a planet in an uncharted star system, thousands of light years away from human colonies. His brow furrowed. This is far, way beyond our usual range." Kara's holographic form flickered as she calculated the transmission delay. Even with faster-than-light communications, a rescue could take days, and we do not know the planetary defenses or their inhabitants. Eli leaned back, feeling the weight of responsibility. He was just a technician, not a hero, not a diplomat. But somehow in that moment he realized that maybe it didn't matter. This queen had reached out. She trusted someone, him, and he couldn't ignore it. "All right, Kara," he said, his voice firm. "First, we need to stabilize the transmitter. We can't lose contact. Then we try to understand her fully. We need her to tell us exactly what's happening." Hours passed. The station hummed, wires sparkled with energy, and Eli worked tirelessly, adjusting the transmitter's alignment and power output. Slowly, more of the Queen's message became clear. She explained that her husband, the king, was caught in a diplomatic negotiation gone wrong on a neighboring planet. His safety was threatened by a natural hazard that her people couldn't easily control. Eli listened carefully, jotting notes on his pad. This wasn't just a repair job. It was a puzzle, a problem he could solve with logic, observation, and patience. And strangely, the Queen's voice gave him comfort. It was anxious, yes, but dignified. She wasn't screaming or panicking in a way that made him panic too. There was a sense of intelligence and trust in her plea. By dawn, Eli had managed to send a signal that the translator could fully decode. The Queen's relief was palpable even through the speakers. "Thank you. Human, your voice, calm, safe." Eli smiled, feeling a warmth he hadn't expected. Humans had always prided themselves on their ingenuity, their ability to think in unusual ways, and right now that quality was making a difference to an entire alien civilization. "Looks like we're officially involved," Eli said, leaning back in his chair. Kara nodded silently, but her holographic eyes held a spark of admiration. He spent the next hour carefully drafting a plan. First, maintain constant communication. Second, gather as much data as possible about the king's situation. Third, figure out how humans could help without endangering themselves or the aliens. Eli paused, staring out at the endless stars. He had never imagined his quiet days of transmitter repair would turn into interstellar diplomacy. But there it was. Queen, her husband in danger, and a human himself ready to make a difference. The moment Eli pressed the final button on the transmitter, the humming in the communications room seemed to intensify. The signal from the Varelians, the alien civilization whose queen had called for help, was now stable. The voice of the Queen floated clearly through the speakers, urgent but calm compared to before. "Human, your words. They calm me. We need your help." Eli adjusted his chair, running a hand through his messy hair. "I'm listening," he said. Kara, the station's holographic assistant, flickered in beside him, her light blue form attentive. "We need more information about the king's situation," Eli continued. "Kara, pull up star maps and scan for anomalies in the coordinates she gave." Kara's holographic eyes glowed brighter. "Coordinates locked. The planetary system shows 3 planets with breathable atmospheres, though only one has the architectural structures matching your transmission's description. Environmental hazards are significant. Caution is advised." Eli nodded. He wasn't sure what kind of caution would be enough for an alien queen and her trapped husband, but the challenge thrilled him. Humans had always found solutions where others saw impossibilities. Now he would have to prove it to an entire civilization. After several hours of communication, Eli finally understood the full situation. The king had been trapped on a diplomatic mission on a planet controlled by an unstable neighboring clan. A sudden storm of toxic gas had erupted, cutting off normal travel routes. The alien technology designed to rescue him was failing because it relied on precise environmental calculations that no one had time to make in the chaos. "This isn't just a mechanical problem," Eli said to Kara. "It's a logic problem. They're too rigid. Humans, we think outside patterns. Maybe we can find a way." Kara's holographic figure tilted her head. "Your confidence is admirable, Eli, but these beings are more advanced than humans. They've monitored galactic travel for centuries. Eli smirked. Exactly. And humans survive worse odds every day. Let's see what they're missing. He activated the translator and replied to the Queen. I may be able to help you rescue the king, but I need constant data on his position and the storm patterns. Can you provide that? The Queen's voice hesitated, then spoke with hope. Yes, I will send sensors. Trust human. By the next morning, Eli had access to live streams from the planet's sensors, showing the king stranded on a floating observation platform, dangerously close to the toxic storm. He squinted at the visuals. The platform was designed with intricate alien technology, and the king moved with cautious precision, aware of the deadly environment. Eli studied the system carefully, tracing the energy flows through the platform. They're using standard teleportation grids, he muttered to Kara, but the calculations are static. They don't adjust for environmental turbulence. I can fix that. Hours turned into a marathon of adjustments. Eli recalibrated the frequencies, altering the transmitter to send stabilizing signals to the teleportation system. The process was delicate. A miscalculation could overload the system. Still, Eli's hands were steady, guided by instinct and logic honed from years of human problem-solving. Suddenly, a new voice broke through the comms, a delegation from the Queen's Council. Their tone was formal, curious, and slightly suspicious. Human, you are meddling in affairs above your rank. Why should we trust your methods? Eli straightened, not intimidated. Because your system isn't working and I can fix it. You need results, not rank. Humans are known for finding solutions where others fail. That's why you contacted me. There was silence, then a faint murmur through the translator. The Queen's voice returned, soft but decisive. Trust. Human, now necessary. Eli exhaled slowly. They were giving him a chance. One chance. One human against centuries of alien rigidity. He focused, monitoring the energy grids, sending precise recalibrations to the teleportation system. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, the platform stabilized. The king's position became secure, and the storm's toxic waves could no longer disrupt the teleportation sequence. The Queen's voice erupted with relief. Human, you have done it. My husband is safe, thanks to you. Eli smiled, leaning back. Just following the data. But before he could relax, the alien council spoke again. This time their tone was less formal and more curious. Explain, human. How did you know what adjustments to make? Your methods, they defy logic as we understand it. Eli chuckled. Humans. We look at patterns, but we don't always follow them. We improvise when needed, that's how we survive. There was a pause. Then a sound Eli hadn't expected. A sound of admiration. The Queen spoke, this time more personal. Your ways, strange but effective. Human, you are unlike any other species we know. For the first time, Eli felt a warmth beyond his technical triumph. Respect, admiration, and perhaps a kind of friendship forming across the vastness of space. He realized humans weren't the strongest species, nor the most advanced. But ingenuity, empathy, and adaptability. These were qualities that mattered, especially in moments like this. Eli spent the next day communicating constantly with the Queen, adjusting the system, and monitoring the king's safe return. He learned about their customs, their language patterns, and their hierarchy. Each new piece of knowledge allowed him to refine his approach. By the evening, the king had returned safely to the Queen's palace, a massive structure floating above the alien planet's surface. Eli watched the live feed, amazed at the elegance of their architecture. And though he had never met these aliens in person, he felt a connection. Humans could understand, learn, and help. Even across light years and species differences, the Queen's voice crackled again through the translator. Human, you are remarkable. Your calm, your insight. We wish to meet you. Come to our planet, learn our ways, and help us further. Eli froze. He had anticipated helping through the transmitter, not traveling light years to a foreign civilization, but a thrill ran through him. Humans had always ventured into the unknown. This was no different. Kara appeared beside him, her holographic form flickering softly. "Eli, are you considering this?" "I have to," he said quietly. "If humans want to make a mark in the galaxy, we have to step beyond our stations. We have to act." Kara's holographic eyes glowed with what could almost be called pride. "Then prepare for departure. We will need all systems ready for interstellar travel. This will not be a simple mission." Eli spent the next hours preparing. He checked the ship's propulsion systems, plotted the fastest course to the alien planet, and packed necessary tools. He also studied the Queen's messages, learning every nuance of her language he could decipher. When the time finally came to launch, Eli stood on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Thousands of points of light, each with its own mysteries, stretched before him. And among them, one planet held the alien queen who had called for help, and her king, whose life he had helped save. Eli felt a sense of purpose stronger than anything he had ever known. He wasn't just a technician anymore. He was a human representing ingenuity, empathy, and courage in the vast, uncharted galaxy. As the engines roared to life and the station began its brief acceleration, Eli whispered to himself, "Let's see how far humans can go." Eli's ship slid through the alien atmosphere like a silver fish in water. The planet below was breathtaking. Oceans shimmered in colors he had never seen, and massive floating structures rose from the surface, connected by glowing bridges of light. The Queen had described her capital as magnificent, but nothing could compare to seeing it in person. The ship's sensors indicated strong atmospheric turbulence, but the vessel handled it with ease. Eli marveled at the alien engineering and wondered how their brains had evolved to create such beauty. Yet for all their sophistication, he knew one thing. Every system had flaws. Every structure, no matter how advanced, could be improved. That was the human way. Observe, learn, adapt, and solve. Landing was an intricate dance. The landing pad was massive, hovering above a glowing river of energy, with alien guards standing like statues. They watched Eli carefully as his ship touched down. The Queen herself appeared in a holographic projection, her presence both regal and warm. "Human, you have arrived. I am pleased." Eli stepped out of his ship, bowing slightly in respect. "Thank you for your invitation, Your Majesty." The Queen's holographic form smiled. "We do not use such titles lightly, human. But your actions deserve recognition. Follow me." Eli followed through the grand corridors of the palace, his eyes scanning every detail. The walls were made of translucent crystal, glowing faintly with energy. Plants floated in mid-air, nourished by light and gravity fields he didn't fully understand. The air smelled faintly sweet, like a mixture of flowers and fresh rain. Finally, they reached the control center where the king had been stranded. The teleportation system still hummed with instability. Screens displayed fluctuating energy readings, and the Queen's advisors stood by, unsure of what to do next. The king appeared in person for the first time. He was imposing yet dignified, with golden eyes that reflected intelligence and caution. He observed Eli quietly. "So, you are the human who saved me," he said, voice deep and calm. Eli nodded. "Yes, sir. The system was unstable and your environment made calculations difficult. I made some adjustments remotely, but it could be stabilized further." The king's gaze sharpened. "Explain." Eli gestured to the screens, pointing at the energy flows. "Your system is designed for precision, which works under normal conditions. But the storm created unpredictable energy patterns. Humans, we think differently. We improvise. I propose a solution that adapts in real time, adjusting the teleportation grid based on environmental feedback." The advisors murmured among themselves. The Queen's expression was patient, but there was curiosity and skepticism in her eyes. Your logic is unusual, one advisor said. But it may work. Eli smiled, a little nervously. Trust me, it's unconventional, but it's the only way to stabilize the system without risking damage to the king. He knelt before the console, working with precision. His fingers moved swiftly, inputting sequences and adjusting flows. The alien technology responded, but not smoothly. There were errors, misreads, and alarms. Eli didn't panic. Humans were good at staying calm under pressure. Hours passed, each moment testing his skill and patience. Kara hovered nearby, projecting readings and warnings. Energy flux is rising, Eli. Proceed with caution. I know, Eli muttered, but this has to work. There's no other option. Slowly, the system began to stabilize. The erratic energy patterns smoothed, the alarms quieted, and the teleportation field shimmered steadily. Eli leaned back, exhaling with relief. The king stepped forward, his eyes bright with respect. Human, your approach is remarkable. You have solved what our best engineers could not. Eli shrugged modestly. I just thought differently. Humans are good at that. The queen's voice was gentle but filled with admiration. You have earned our trust, not only for saving my husband, but for showing that humans can think in ways that even the most advanced Varelians cannot anticipate. Eli felt a surge of pride. Humans weren't the strongest or the fastest, but their minds, adaptable, creative, and persistent, were powerful. And here, on a world of unimaginable technology, that human quality mattered more than anything else. After stabilizing the system, the queen invited Eli to dine with her and the king. The dining hall was a marvel, tables floating in midair, food that glowed softly, and music that resonated through vibrations rather than sound. Eli marveled at everything, careful not to offend alien customs. During the meal, he learned more about Varelian culture. They were disciplined, organized, and cautious, yet their rigidity sometimes made them slower to adapt. Humans, he realized, complemented that rigidity perfectly. Where the Varelians excelled in precision, humans excelled in improvisation. Together, they could achieve much more than alone. The queen leaned toward him, her golden eyes warm. Human, you have changed my perception of your species. We believed humans were minor players in the galaxy. Now, we see potential. Eli smiled. We humans are used to being underestimated, but we thrive on it. It pushes us to find solutions others overlook. The king nodded in agreement. Indeed. Perhaps it is time our civilizations work together more closely. Humans may teach us what our rigidity has hidden from us. Over the next few days, Eli worked alongside the queen's engineers. They were skilled, precise, and methodical, but Eli's ideas often puzzled them. When he suggested changes to the teleportation system, they hesitated, unsure of the unorthodox methods. But once he demonstrated results, their skepticism turned to admiration. Each success strengthened the bond between humans and Varelians. The queen often watched Eli with a mix of curiosity and appreciation, while the king consulted him on ways to improve their systems further. One afternoon, as Eli was adjusting a series of energy matrices, the queen approached him quietly. Human, your perspective is unique. You do not fear failure as we do. You see solutions we cannot see. Eli smiled softly. We humans survive by learning from mistakes. Sometimes the solution isn't obvious, and you have to trust your instincts. The queen's eyes glimmered. Then perhaps humans are exactly what we need in times of uncertainty. Your kind, your mind, is a gift. Eli felt a warmth in his chest. Humans were often underestimated in the galaxy, seen as fragile or primitive. Yet here, on this distant planet, the very quality that made humans ordinary in the eyes of some was extraordinary in the eyes of an advanced civilization. By the end of his visit, Eli had not only stabilized the teleportation system, but also suggested improvements to the planet's environmental monitoring. He had proven that human intuition and adaptability were invaluable. even to a species far more technologically advanced. The Queen invited him to stay longer, to help teach her people the value of flexibility and creative problem-solving. Eli hesitated, thinking of his small space station and the life he had left behind. But he also realized that humans had a role to play in the galaxy, a role that went beyond repairs and routine missions. "Perhaps I can stay a little while," he said. "Teach, learn, and help where I can." The Queen's face lit up with a smile. "That is wise. Together, humans and Varelians may accomplish what neither could alone." Eli looked out over the glowing city, feeling a connection to this world and its people. Humans had always explored the unknown, faced challenges without fear, and adapted to survive. Now, his skills, his perspective, and his very way of thinking had made a difference on a scale he had never imagined. For the first time, he understood something profound. Humanity's strength was not in weapons, power, or technology. Alone, it was in the mind, the heart, and the willingness to act with courage and creativity. Eli woke to the soft glow of the alien sun filtering through the translucent crystal walls of the Queen's palace. The city below shimmered like a living network of lights and energy, floating bridges connecting towers that seemed to float on air. For all its beauty, Eli knew the real challenge lay in understanding the minds of the beings who created it. The Queen had summoned him early. Her voice came through the translator before he even reached the control room. "Human, we have a situation that requires your insight. Come quickly." Eli arrived to find the king and a group of advisors standing around a large holographic display. It projected a section of space surrounding their system, a neighboring planet emitting unusual energy fluctuations. The Queen's tone was tense but controlled. "This planet is unstable. Its energy emissions are growing rapidly and could disrupt trade, travel, and communications for our entire region. We do not understand the cause." The king stepped forward, his golden eyes fixed on Eli. "We have analyzed the data for days. Our best minds cannot pinpoint the source." "Human, can you?" Eli studied the hologram carefully. The energy spikes were irregular, unpredictable, yet they followed subtle patterns. Most aliens would have tried to force a solution based on rigid models. Eli, however, allowed his mind to wander freely. He imagined the energy as waves in a river, flowing and colliding, reacting to unseen obstacles. "I think I can," he said finally, "but I need full access to all planetary sensors and satellite data. We'll have to analyze the emissions in real time." The advisors exchanged uncertain glances, but the Queen nodded. "You have full access, human. Show us your way." Eli got to work immediately. Kara projected readings and assisted with calculations, but Eli relied on instinct as much as logic. He noticed patterns the alien computers ignored, minor fluctuations, timing sequences, small correlations between planetary, rotation, and energy surges. Hours passed, punctuated by short explanations from Eli and longer debates among the alien advisors. Eli stayed patient. Humans were good at persistence, at trying new approaches when the first few failed. Eventually, he identified the cause. A natural energy reservoir beneath the planet's surface was reacting unpredictably to gravitational shifts, creating the spikes. The aliens had overlooked this because it required thinking outside their standard models. Eli explained the solution carefully. "If we can adjust the resonance of the energy reservoir in real time, we can stabilize the emissions. It will require some adjustments to your planetary regulators, but it's possible." The king studied him thoughtfully. "Unorthodox, but promising. Do it." Together, Eli and the alien engineers began the delicate process of recalibrating the planet's energy systems. Every adjustment had to be precise. One misstep could amplify the energy spikes instead of calming them. Eli guided the team, his calm human voice keeping them focused even as alarms flashed and data streams surged. By nightfall, the energy readings began to stabilize. The spikes smoothed out, the planetary system hummed evenly, and communications with surrounding worlds returned to normal. The Queen's relief was evident in her voice. "Human, you have done it again." My people owe you a debt that cannot be measured. Eli smiled modestly, just using what humans do best. Observing, adapting, trying new ways. That's how we solve problems. The king placed a hand on Eli's shoulder. You are remarkable, human. You have earned our trust not by rank or power, but by thought and action. You are more than a visitor. You are an ally. In the following days, Eli's presence became more than just a solution-finding mission. The aliens began to consult him for other challenges. He advised on improving transportation routes through turbulent energy fields, suggested methods to optimize their communication grids, and even helped refine environmental controls in the city. Everywhere he went, aliens looked at him with curiosity and respect. Some were skeptical at first, questioning why a human could contribute to problems centuries of Virelian knowledge had failed to solve. But Eli's calm confidence and clever solutions won them over quickly. One afternoon, as Eli was inspecting a newly stabilized energy regulator, the Queen approached him quietly. Human. You have changed how we see your kind. We believed humans were small, fragile, unprepared. Now we see your mind, your courage, your insight. It is a gift. Eli shrugged with a smile. Humans survive by looking for solutions. Others miss. We're used to being underestimated. It teaches us to be clever. The Queen's golden eyes softened. Perhaps this is why my people needed you. Not just to solve technical problems, but to teach us that solutions are not always in rigid rules. Sometimes, flexibility is strength. Eli nodded. Exactly. And humans don't stop learning. We make mistakes. We adapt, and we try again. That's how we survive, and why we can thrive even in unknown worlds. Meanwhile, the king had begun involving Eli in diplomatic matters. A neighboring planet requested trade negotiations, but subtle tensions threatened peace. The Virelians were cautious and slow, analyzing every detail with extreme care. Eli, however, could see the underlying issues and suggest solutions that allowed both sides to find agreement quickly. The Queen noticed this and commented privately to Eli. Human, your way of thinking, it is unlike any we have encountered. You do not overanalyze, you see the heart of the problem. That is rare. Eli smiled. Sometimes the simplest approach is the best. Humans are good at connecting dots others can't see, because they're too focused on details. Over time, Eli realized that his influence was extending beyond technology and diplomacy. He was helping the Virelians reconsider how they approached problems, how they communicated, and how they trusted others. Small changes in procedure, small adjustments in perspective, and the Virelians were beginning to achieve more than they had thought possible. The Queen called him to her private chambers. One evening, she looked at him with genuine admiration. Human, you have done more than we could imagine. You have taught patience, adaptation, and courage. My people, my husband, we are grateful. You have our trust completely. Eli felt warmth in his chest. Respect and trust mattered more than titles, more than power. Here on an alien world, humans were valued for intelligence, creativity, and kindness, qualities often overlooked in the galaxy. The Queen continued, We would like you to stay longer, human. Teach us more, help us plan, and guide us when we face challenges beyond our understanding. Eli thought of his small space station, his quiet life, and the universe beyond. But he also realized this was more than an invitation. It was a chance to prove that humanity's strengths, thinking differently, acting wisely, and helping others, could make a real difference across the stars. I would be honored, Eli said. Humans can always learn more too. And I think we can achieve great things together. The Queen smiled, her confidence in him clear. The king nodded in agreement. Human, you are no longer just a visitor. You are part of our world now, and perhaps part of our family. Eli's mind swirled with possibilities. Humans had always explored, always faced the unknown, and always found ways to survive. Now, his skills and perspective had brought peace, stability, and trust to a civilization far beyond his own. As the city glowed under the twin moons that night, Eli realized something remarkable. Humanity's greatest strength was not in power, speed, or technology alone. It was in the mind, the heart, and the ability to act with creativity, courage, and kindness. The palace was alive with activity. The queen and king had called a council, summoning representatives from nearby civilizations to discuss a pressing issue, a system-wide communication failure that threatened trade, exploration, and safety across multiple star systems. Eli stood quietly in the corner, observing as alien leaders bickered, debated, and hesitated. The problem was complex. A series of natural energy waves were interfering with faster-than-light communications. Alien technology could detect the waves but could not predict them or adjust to their variations. Every calculation failed as soon as new data arrived. Eli frowned. Humans would not see the problem as one rigid calculation, but as a flow, a set of patterns that could be analyzed and adjusted dynamically. He stepped forward. "Excuse me," he said, his voice calm but confident. "I believe I can help." All eyes turned toward him. Some alien representatives whispered among themselves, skeptical. Humans were known for bravery, ingenuity, and occasional recklessness. Few trusted them to solve problems on this scale. The queen smiled. "Human, please, explain." Eli pointed to the holographic projection. "The energy waves are not random. They fluctuate based on planetary rotation, gravitational shifts, and nearby star activity. If we can adjust our relay stations in real time using feedback from the environment, we can stabilize communications across the system." A murmur ran through the assembly. One advisor stepped forward. "That is impossible. Even our most advanced algorithms cannot predict the waves with such precision." Eli shook his head. "It's not about predicting perfectly. It's about adapting. Humans call it dynamic adjustment. We observe patterns and respond continuously. It's how we survive unpredictable situations." The king's eyes shone with interest. "Explain further, human." Eli demonstrated on the console, adjusting one of the relay stations virtually. The system responded immediately, stabilizing as the waves shifted. The aliens gasped. What had seemed impossible moments ago was now working, thanks to a human mind, willing to approach the problem differently. The queen's voice carried across the room. "Human, or proceed. Show us how it works fully." Eli spent hours guiding the assembly. He explained how humans use feedback, flexibility, and intuition to solve problems, blending these ideas with Varelian technology. Slowly, the system began to stabilize across multiple sectors. Communications returned to normal, faster and more reliable than ever before. The assembly erupted in approval. Alien leaders nodded, some applauding, others bowing slightly in respect. Eli smiled quietly. Humans were often underestimated, but when given a chance, they could shine in ways even advanced civilizations could not imagine. The queen stepped forward, placing her hand near Eli in a gesture of acknowledgement. "You have not only solved our problem, human. You have shown all present what your kind can achieve. Humans are more than explorers or minor helpers. You are thinkers, problem solvers, and allies." Eli's chest swelled with pride. "Humans. We survive by looking for solutions others overlook. That's all we've ever done, and every challenge we face, I'm glad it helped." Over the following days, Eli worked closely with the queen, the king, and the council to improve infrastructure across the region. He suggested adaptive energy grids, flexible transportation systems, and communication networks that could adjust in real time. Every suggestion came from human experience, observing, learning, improvising. As Eli's influence grew, so did the Varelians' respect for humanity. Where once humans had been considered weak and insignificant, now they were valued for their intellect, creativity, and calm in crises. The queen spoke often of him in council, praising his unique perspective. 1. Evening, as the twin moons rose over the glowing city, the queen approached Eli privately. "Human, your presence here has changed much. Not just systems, not just technology, but the way my people think. You have built trust, not with force, but with insight. That is rare, And it is powerful. Eli nodded, feeling a deep satisfaction. Humans had always believed in solving problems, helping others, and surviving through intellect and heart. And here, on a distant alien world, those principles had made a difference on a galactic scale. The king appeared beside them. Human, I wish to formally acknowledge you. Your contributions have earned humans a place in our councils, in our future planning, and in the trust of our people. You have done more than save lives. You have built a bridge between worlds. Eli felt a warmth he could hardly describe. Respect, admiration, and acceptance, things humans often sought in small measures, had been granted to his species across an entire civilization. The queen smiled warmly. Eli, would you consider staying longer? Humans and Virelians could learn so much from each other. Your methods, your thinking, they are needed. Eli thought of his home station, quiet and lonely in orbit. But he also thought of this city, these people, and the possibilities. I will stay, he said finally. I want to continue helping, and I want humans to be recognized as true allies in the galaxy. There is much we can learn from each other. Queen reached out, her hand brushing lightly against his shoulder, a gesture of trust and friendship. Then welcome, human. You are not just a visitor. You are part of our world now, and perhaps part of our family. Over the next weeks, Eli continued to work with Virelian engineers and diplomats. He helped refine energy networks, taught adaptable problem-solving techniques, and offered insights into creative thinking. The Virelians, once rigid in approach, began to see the value of flexibility, intuition, and improvisation. Humans, it seemed, had a place in the galaxy, not as warriors or conquerors, but as thinkers, mediators, and innovators. Eli's success became known across multiple systems, earning humanity a reputation for cleverness, adaptability, and calm ingenuity. One morning, as Eli walked through the floating gardens of the palace, the queen and king met him there. The twin suns reflected off the crystal towers, bathing the city in gold and silver light. Human. The galaxy will remember this, the king said. Humans are no longer minor players. Your kind has proven that intelligence, empathy, and creativity are forces to be reckoned with. We are proud to call you allies. The queen smiled. And your contributions have saved lives, strengthened our systems, and built trust across civilizations. Eli, humans will be remembered for what they are capable of, the power of the mind and heart. Eli looked at them, humbled and proud. I'm just one human, he said softly. But if this shows what humans can do together, then maybe there's hope for all of us in the stars. The king's golden eyes softened. It is more than hope, human. It is reality. And humanity will play an important role in shaping the future of the galaxy. Eli spent the remainder of his time on the planet sharing knowledge, refining systems, and forming bonds. He realized that humans' greatest strength was not in technology alone, but in their ability to think creatively, adapt quickly, and act with courage and empathy. When it was finally time to leave, the queen and king gathered to bid him farewell. The city's citizens, advisors, and engineers lined the floating bridges, sending him off with gratitude and respect. Human. You have changed everything, the queen said. May your people continue to shine in the stars. You have shown that even the smallest species can make a tremendous difference. Eli's ship lifted from the palace's landing pad, rising into the alien sky. As he looked back at the city, glowing and alive with energy, he felt a deep sense of accomplishment. Humans were no longer overlooked or underestimated. They were respected, trusted, and valued as allies across the galaxy. The stars stretched endlessly before him, full of mysteries and challenges yet to come. But Eli knew one thing. Humanity's greatest power was not in strength or speed, but in intelligence, creativity, and heart. And as his ship sped toward new horizons, Eli whispered, to himself, a smile on his face, humans can do anything if we believe, adapt, and act. For the first time, he felt that humanity's place in the galaxy was secure, not through conquest or force, but through ingenuity, courage, and the unbreakable spirit that made them unique among the stars. The universe was vast, the challenges endless, but humanity had proven itself. And Eli, a simple communications engineer turned hero, had become a symbol of what humans could accomplish. Trusted allies, clever problem solvers, and a shining example of hope across the cosmos.